Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We have a stack of research on the desk today that honestly feels a little bit illegal to talk about.
Yeah.
Or at least,
Yeah.
if we'd had this conversation maybe 3-4 years ago, people would have looked at us like we were completely out of our minds.
Absolutely. We'd have been laughed out of the room. It would have been heresy.
We are talking about the cloud-first dogma.
Mm-hmm.
For the better part of a decade, I mean, basically from 2015 right up until 2024, there was just this golden rule in tech. If you were building a business, you did not buy servers.
Right. The mantra was, friends don't let friends build data centers.
Exactly. If you were racking your own servers, it was seen as legacy thinking.
You were a dinosaur.
You were a server hugger. The whole narrative was that the cloud AWS, Azure, Google, that was the only way to build a modern business.
Right. And owning hardware was basically an admission of defeat. It was a status symbol, really. The marketing was just brilliant. They convinced a whole generation of CTOs that hardware was a liability. They sold us this idea that, undifferentiated heavy lifting.
Like swapping hard drives.
Yeah, swapping drives or managing power. That it was a waste of time and that smart people rented.
But here we are, it's 2026, and the wind has just shifted dramatically.
Yeah, it really is.
We aren't just seeing a few grumbles about the bill. We are seeing a full-blown exodus. You have these high-profile companies, people like 37 Signals, the Basecamp team.
X, formerly Twitter.
X, right. They publicly pulled the ripcord. They left the cloud, went back to their own metal, and saved millions.
And that's the key. It's not just a philosophical thing anymore. It's a survival mechanism.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're doing a FinOps reality check. We're going to explore this concept of cloud repatriation. And I want to be super clear, because the sources are, this is not about nostalgia. We are not advocating for going back to the Stone Age.
Not at all. This is about math. It's about looking at the bill and realizing that the rent versus buy equation has fundamentally broken.
Okay, so let's unpack this. We have a breakdown here titled The Great Repatriation, and it frames this all as a correction. But to understand why people are leaving, we have to get into how the cloud providers actually make their money.
Right.
They talk about rent-seeking and the Elasticity Premium.
It's the core of it right there, the Elasticity Premium.
Break that down for me. What are we actually paying for?
Okay, so think about what the public cloud was designed to do. Its superpower is elasticity. It gives you this magical ability to spin up 5,000 servers in 10 minutes.
Right, for like a Taylor Swift ticket launch or something.
Exactly, to handle that massive spike and then shut them all down an hour later.
Which, to be fair, is an engineering miracle. I don't want to downplay that.
It is. It's incredible technology. But that miracle comes with a massive markup. You're paying a premium for the option to scale up and down instantly. But here's the catch, and this is what all the data is showing us in 2026. Most businesses aren't Taylor Swift.
Most businesses are.
Well, they're boring.
Precisely. They have what we call a base load.
A base load.
Yeah, think about a standard B2B software company. They have a database, they have background workers sending emails, web servers. Those things run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
They just hum along.
They just hum. They don't spike up and down wildly.
So if you're running a steady state workload on a platform that's designed for extreme volatility,
You are just lighting money on fire. The research has a really sticky analogy for this.
the car rental one.
Yeah. Using the cloud for your baseload is like renting a car from Hertz every single day for 3 years.
Every day.
Because, quote, maybe one Tuesday I'll need a van.
That really puts it in perspective. You'd pay, 5 times the value of the car in rental fees just for the option to swap it?
And at some point, the CFO looks at that Hertz bill and just screams, just lease the car. Or, better yet, just buy it. But hang on, because I can hear the skeptics of people who grew up on the cloud saying, but hardware is expensive. It depreciates.
Right.
But the research here suggests the opposite is true when it comes to value.
Yeah, this is the part that usually surprises people. We have to talk about Moore's Law. It's still alive and kicking in the data center.
Okay.
Roughly speaking, the cost of raw compute CPUs, RAM, flash storage, it drops by about 20 to 30% per year.
So computers get cheaper and faster. We all know this.
We do. But think about the cloud business model. If you buy a server on-premise, you pay once. You lock in that performance for, say, 5 years.
Okay.
Now think about your AWS bill. Does it go down 20% every year?
I have never, ever seen a cloud bill go down. It only creeps up.
Exactly. Cloud pricing is incredibly sticky. In fact, it often goes up because they introduce new, more complex instance types.
So what's happening?
What's happening is that Amazon and Google, They're the ones buying that cheaper, faster hardware. They're capturing the deflationary benefit of Moore's Law, but they keep charging you the same rental rate.
So they pocket the margin from the hardware getting better, and we're all still paying 2020 prices.
Essentially, yes. When you repatriate, when you buy the box yourself, you capture that value. You lock in a fixed cost, and every year that server runs, your effective cost per transaction goes down.
The comparison in the notes was just stark. A high-end server in 2026, we're talking a beast with 128 cores, 2 terabytes of RAM.
Yeah, a monster.
It costs a fraction of what it would cost to rent that same capacity for just 12 months.
And that server will last you 5 years. It's an asset, not a subscription.
Okay, so that's the compute side. The rent versus buy argument makes sense for the machines. But there's another cost in here that the sources are calling the hidden killer. And honestly, reading about this just made me angry on behalf of founders everywhere. The Hotel California effect.
You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave.
We're talking about egress fees.
Yeah.
This feels like the resort fee at a hotel, but on a global scale. Explain how this trap works.
It's simple, but it's brutal. Ingress bringing data into the cloud is almost always free.
They open the doors wide.
Oh yeah. Come on in, upload your petabytes, bring us all your backups.
But the moment you want to send that data back out to a user, to another service.
That is egress. And the markup on egress it's arguably one of the highest margin products in human history.
Is it really that different from just paying for internet?
It is entirely different. Look at the infrastructure. Sending data over a fiber optic cable costs the provider pennies, just pennies. But they charge customers these massive rates per gigabyte.
So for companies in, what, AI, media streaming?
Heavy SaaS, yeah. For them, data transfer can be 30% of their total monthly spend.
So if I'm running a video platform, every time a user watches a video, Amazon is taking a cut of the bandwidth.
A huge cut. Now, compare that to the colocation model, the colo.
Okay.
This is where the arbitrage opportunity is just sitting there.
Let's define colo for anyone who might just be picturing a server in a broom closet.
Sure. A colocation facility like an Equinix or a Digital Realty, it's a massive secure building. It's got industrial power, cooling, top-notch security. You rent a cage or a rack.
And you put your own servers in there.
You do, but the magic is the internet connection. The billing is completely different.
Oh, sorry.
In a colo, you typically don't pay per gigabyte. You pay for the port. You're paying for the size of the pipe.
So it's like an all-you-can-eat buffet.
Exactly. You might pay, say, $1,000 a month for a 10 gigabit dedicated fiber line.
Okay.
You can run that line hot, 247. You can push petabytes of data through it. The cost is still $1,000.
And that same volume of data on a public cloud.
If you pushed that same petabyte of data through AWS at their standard egress rates, you could be looking at a bill of $50,000, maybe even $80,000 for that month.
Wait, hold on. $1,000 versus $50,000?
Or more, yeah.
That's not just a saving. That's a completely different business model.
It changes your unit economics completely. I mean, if you're an AI company moving these massive training data sets around, staying in the cloud is essentially signing a death warrant for your margins.
Oh, yeah.
Moving to a flat rate port in a colo is the only way to make the business viable.
Okay, I'm going to play skeptic again. I'm a CTO listening to this, and I hear the savings. I see the math. But I am terrified because the cloud isn't just computers, it's services.
The service in software as a service.
Right. When I use Amazon RDS for my database, I'm not just renting disk space. I'm paying Amazon to patch the OS, handle backups, swap the drive if it fails.
Yeah, just the failover, all of it.
And if I move to a colo...
You have to do all of that yourself.
And that scares me. Which brings us to what the sources are calling the SRE tax.
It's the biggest counter-argument, and it's a valid one. You cannot ignore the human cost.
This is where the math can fall apart.
It is. If you're not careful, saving money on a server is easy. Building a culture that can manage it is hard.
So walk us through the people problem, because it's not just about hiring a guy to plug in a cable, is it?
Oh, no. Let's say you repatriate and you save $1 million a year in AWS bills. That looks heroic on a spreadsheet. The CEO is thrilled.
Of course.
But then suddenly your developers are complaining the database is slow, the backups failed last night, a hard drive died in New Jersey, and someone has to physically drive out there to swap it.
So you need to hire people to handle that mess.
You need site reliability engineers, SREs,
Yeah.
and good SREs. I mean, people who really know how to manage bare metal, configure switches, tune Linux kernels, they're expensive.
Very expensive.
So if you have to hire 3 senior SREs at $300,000 a year each.
There goes $900,000 of your $1 million saving.
Right, and now you have 3 more people to manage who might quit, who might get burned out. Was it worth the headache for a net saving of $100K? Probably not.
So is that the final verdict then? Repatriation is only for the giants who can afford these armies of engineers.
Well, that was the verdict back in, say, 2020. But in 2026, the equation has shifted again because of tooling.
What change?
We have to talk about the great equalizer, Kubernetes.
K8s. We hear about it constantly. But explain why it matters for this specific rent versus buy decision.
This is so crucial. 5 years ago, deploying to a physical server felt very different than deploying to the cloud.
It was clunky.
Super clunky. Scripts broke. But Kubernetes abstracts the hardware away. It creates a layer of insulation.
Like a universal operating system for the data center.
That's a great way to put it. It creates a standard API. So for your software developers, the people writing the code, they don't really know or care if that code is landing on an AWS instance or a bare metal server in a colo.
The developer experience stays the same.
Exactly. They type kubectl apply and the code just runs.
So you don't lose that agility. You don't have developers waiting weeks for a server to be provisioned.
You keep most of it. And on the hardware side, we're seeing the rise of hardware as a service.
I saw this in the notes. Dell Apex, HPE GreenLake.
Exactly. The hardware vendors realized they were losing the war, so they changed their tactics. Now, they will literally drop a rack of servers in your data center, but they own it. They manage the lifecycle.
What if a drive breaks?
Their tech comes to fix it. You just pay a monthly fee.
So it feels like the cloud, it's an operating expense. Someone else fixes the broken parts, but it lives in your cage, and you get the performance and cost benefits.
It bridges the gap. It reduces that SRE tax in a big way because you don't need a hardware team, you just need a platform team. But, and this is a big but, there is still a threshold.
What's the magic number? When does it actually make sense to deal with all this?
The consensus from the research is that if your cloud bill is under, say, $500,000 a year, just stay in the cloud.
The outside action isn't worth it.
Not at all. Focus on your product. But once you cross that $2 million a year mark,
That's the danger zone.
that's when the savings from repatriation become so large that you can afford to hire a dedicated infrastructure team and still come out millions of dollars ahead.
Let's make this concrete. We have a case study here about a company called TechCorp.
Right. A hypothetical, but based on real numbers.
So TechCorp is spending $3.5 million a year on AWS. Their FinOps person does an audit and realizes that 70% of their compute usage is that baseload we talked about.
Yep. Just boring, predictable churning.
Classic scenario. They're paying the Taylor Swift premium for a library workload,
They are.
so they decide to make the move. But they don't go all in on-prem, do they? They're not zealots.
No. And this is the Smart Cloud Plus strategy. They keep their front-end website and their AI experiments on AWS
Why?
because the website traffic is spiky and the AI work needs these weird GPUs that are hard to buy.
So use the cloud for what it's actually good at.
Exactly. But they move their massive Kafka clusters and their core application layer, all the heavy lifting, to a colocation facility.
Okay, let's talk investment. This isn't free. They had to spend money to save money.
Right. They had to write a check. They bought 4 racks of high-density servers that cost $800,000 upfront.
That is a tough check for a CFO to sign in this economy.
It is, but you amortize that over 4 years. So in accounting terms, it's $200,000 a year.
Okay.
Then you've got the colo fees, power, cooling, the cage, and the network fees. Plus, they hired a senior data center engineer and retrained a DevOps person. That labor and overhead is another $400,000 a year.
So amortized hardware plus fees plus new staff. What's the total annual damage?
The new annual cost for just those workloads is roughly $770,000.
And what were they paying Amazon for those same workloads before?
$2.1 million.
Wow. Okay, so from $2.1 million down to $770,000.
That is a savings of $1.3 million per year.
Every year.
Over a standard 4-year hardware cycle, that's $5.3 million in pure margin added straight to the bottom line.
That's significant. For a mid-sized company, $5 million is the difference between profitability and a down round.
And we haven't even mentioned the performance bonus.
The noisy neighbor problem.
Right. This is the hidden benefit. In the public cloud, you are sharing physical servers with other companies. If Netflix or some crypto miner is hammering the CPU on the same physical box your virtual machine is on,
Your performance suffers.
it's called CPU steal. your performance takes a hit. But on your own metal,
There is no neighbor.
you get 100% of the CPU, 100% of the time. TechCorp in this study actually saw their application latency drop by 40% just by moving off the cloud.
So they paid less and got a faster product.
Yep.
It sounds like a no-brainer when you lay it out like that, but we have to be responsible here. It's not for everyone.
No.
If a CTO is listening right now sweating over their AWS bill, how do they decide? You can't just go buy servers tomorrow.
No, you absolutely cannot. We've got a framework for this, the Repatriation Matrix. It's a 4-step checklist you have to pass before you buy a single server.
Okay, hit me with step 1.
The stability test.
Right.
Look at your CPU graphs for the last 6 months. Are they jagged lines spiking up and down every hour?
Yes.
Stay in the cloud, you need the elasticity, but if they're flat lines, you are a candidate for repatriation.
Okay, step 2.
The scale test. This is the money. Is your annual spend under $500K? Stay put. Is it over $2 million? You have a fiduciary duty to investigate moving.
Step 3.
The competency test. This is the one you have to be really honest about. Do you have Linux skills in-house? Do you know how to configure a firewall?
Right.
If your team is purely JavaScript front-end developers who have never seen a command line, do not build a data center. You will fail.
You need the mechanic, not just the driver. And what's step 4?
The data gravity test. This is just physics. Compute follows data. If you have 5 petabytes of customer data sitting in Amazon S3, you cannot just move your compute to a colo in Texas.
Because of those egress fees we talked about.
The cost to pull that data out of S3 to process it on your servers would bankrupt you. If the data lives in the cloud, the compute usually has to stay there.
So you can't fight data gravity.
You really can't. It's the anchor.
So, zooming out, what does this all mean for the future of the industry? We started by saying cloud first is dead. What's replacing it?
I think we are entering the era of cloud rationality. The cloud is no longer a strategy with a capital S. It's just a utility. It's like electricity.
A utility.
Think about it. Sometimes you plug into the grid. That's the public cloud. It's easy. It's there. You pay the meter. But if you run an aluminum smelter...
A massive, constant energy consumer.
Right. You don't just plug into the wall. You build your own power plant next door because it's cheaper per kilowatt.
Neither one is right or wrong. It's just load management.
Exactly. And we're seeing the rise of cloudless architectures. With tools like Docker and Terraform, we're reaching a point where infrastructure is becoming a commodity. You can shift capacity based on price.
That brings up the word leverage.
Huge leverage. If you are 100% on AWS, you're a hostage. If they raise prices, you pay. But if you have a hybrid setup, if you can say, hey, Amazon, if you don't discount this contract, we'll shift 30% of our workload to our Equinix rack next quarter.
Suddenly, you're the customer again, not the product.
You got it.
Control. That seems to be the theme of this entire deep dive.
It is. Control over costs, no more surprise bills, control over performance, no more noisy neighbors, and control over your destiny, no more vendor lock-in.
The cloud providers did an amazing marketing job convincing us all that owning hardware was bad and hard.
They did. But as interest rates rose and the era of growth at all costs ended, the bill came due.
And now we have to pay it or find a better way. This has been such an eye-opener. I think the biggest takeaway for me is that we need to stop asking, how do I optimize my AWS bill?
That's the wrong question. We've spent 10 years trying to shave 5% off the top of the bill. The real question for 2026 is, should this workload be on AWS at all?
And increasingly, the answer is no.
And that is a billion-dollar realization.
A massive shift. Thank you all for listening to this deep dive into the new reality of cloud economics. Go check your AWS bills, and we'll catch you on the next one.